Good morning on this Friday, April 1st, 2016. It's time now for the Elder Law Report. This is Milton Baker along with you. Let me introduce now Greg McIntyre here in the studio. Hayden Soloway is with us today by telephone. And Greg, take it away, sir.
Morning, Milton.
Good morning there.
I quit.
April Fools.
This is no longer the Elder Law Report. It's actually Milton's Power Hour. Okay, so Milton, take it away.
All right, let's talk about the North Carolina Tar Heels and Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the North Carolina Tar Heels are playing this weekend in Tejas, aren't they? Aren't they playing in Texas?
Texas,
Houston,
okay.
Houston, Texas. That's how you say it if you're from Tejas.
Tejas.
It's Tejas.
Texas.
Yes. Playing in the X's.
I didn't know where you were at there.
Well, I was born in Mexico City. Okay. So no, I wasn't. I was born in Shelby. All right. So anyway, they're playing this weekend. I think they're playing the Syracuse?
Evil Empire.
Syracuse, Evil
No,
Empire.
that's Duke's the Evil Empire.
Oh, they lost. They lost. Oh, I apologize to all the Duke fans out there for my friend Milton and his political views about Duke. So, anyway, so it's going to be a good weekend for North Carolina out there, and April Fools. And no, I didn't quit. We're going strong here at the Elder Law Report, and you shouldn't quit either. I'm going to tell you what, we've got a great show lined up for you. Hayden did leave me, though. Hayden left me. I'm very upset. You're here, Hayden. What's going on? You doing okay? It's raining at the beach. Oh, but this is the highlight of your weekend, or time off, right? It's April. It's Hayden. It's like 75 degrees and sunny here. No, it's not. It's raining here too. It's raining here too. Well, that's awesome. It's great to hear you. Be here at least in spirit or on the phone with me. I was pretty upset. I've been lost for the last couple of days without you around. You're making lists? Oh, great. I get a bunch of lists. Hey, we have a great guest lined up today, and I'm going to just introduce my guest, Sir Duncan Blount. Okay. Mr. Blount, how are you doing today?
I am so excited to be here.
Mr. Blount's with Nabu Scholar. Nabu, N-A-B-U Scholar. And Nabu was an ancient record keeper in
Babylonian times.
Babylonian times.
That kept the history, and so my business is all about keeping my clients' history and helping them write their autobiographies.
That is amazing. Something we're going to talk about, seniors. I mean, I'm not going to get into it too deep right now. I'm just going to give you a taste because we still have to have time for, I can't call it Hayden's corner anymore. It's Hayden's happy place, but today it's going to be Hayden's holiday because she's at the beach. And so we got to get to that. But Duncan and Nabu Scholar is an amazing company that's going nationwide. It's just getting really hot right now, and he's helping seniors to write their life. So write your life. That's in my tagline I gave Nabu Scholar. That's what he helps you do. Take a lifetime of knowledge and not just tell it in a chronological way, but in a storytelling way that's very powerful and very easy to read. And, imagine going through World War II, Korean War, Civil Rights Movement, women's rights, which is included in the Civil Rights Movement, and just everything, watching Star Wars for the first time, or maybe that's just me, but, Jaws for the first, but being able to write those things down, all those tough situations you went through, things that knocked the wind out of you, that you got up and learned that in order to conquer life, it's not how hard you get hit, in the immortal words of Rocky Balboa, it's how hard you can get hit and keep on coming, right? And being able to impart that knowledge to future generations with the power of the written word is very, very powerful. So before we get to Duncan, Milton, if we have anybody that wants to call in, talk to us about the subject, about writing their life, or just important things that have happened in their life today that they've really learned from, invite the calls. Could you give our call sign out and our number?
Yeah, absolutely. The phone numbers are 704-482-1390 or 704-435-2844 or 704-735-8071.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for Hayden's Happy Place.
All right.
You are always happy.
That's right.
Well, some of the things you said, Hayden, just sparked responses in me too. So you were saying the everyday person. I mean, see, that's how we think of people. It's just an or that's how we think of ourselves. That's how we think of ourselves. Is we're just everyday people. Okay. Aside from me, I know I'm special. I know you're special. Okay. But sometimes I think maybe I'm just. I don't have a story, but I do have a story to impart.
That's right.
I've been through all kinds of strife and struggles in my life. And just the way that I've learned from other people, I've learned to deal with other people, stretching every day, right? Every day. And I don't mean just physically stretching, which is good for you, but mentally stretching every day and taking on things that maybe scare me or challenge me. That's the only way you grow, right? I'd like to impart that and not to be scared of life or scared of anything. That you carry the monsters in life inside of you, all that fear inside of you, not to be, scared of others, just to love others and be yourself and trust yourself. If you can impart all those things, that would be nice to be able to do that, don't you think?
One thing that's really interesting is the people who have the most powerful stories aren't necessarily the same people who know how to tell them or write them. And one thing that Greg and I really connected on earlier is writing is hard, but we're uniquely great at it. And so when we can see our strengths and we can see where those strengths can help people, that's where we can find the world's need and meet it. And that's such an exciting thing for Greg and me.
I think that's important. Something has to be well written to be enough for someone to want to read it.
Yeah, and I think that my mission right now in starting this business and living here in North Carolina is making stories as beautiful as they deserve to be. And I have a very unique skill set in tapping into this web of stories swirling around us. And as a Christian, I see God in control of all of these stories, and He's the only one who sees how all of these life struggles and victories play together. And sometimes we can tap into that and we can see the beauty, the symbolism. We can analyze and understand. And that's something I have to offer my clients, is seeing the beauty of it. I have a story from a recent client, if I could tell it real quick. There's a man in northern Iowa who's a Baptist preacher, and he was also a lifetime electrician. And over the course of interviewing him, I made this connection, and it was only a few sentences in his book, but the connection was this, that as a minister, he wired his community and congregation to serve the Lord and to worship, just like he wired that same church to be full of power. And when I can see those kinds of connections in people's lives and just write that one sentence and help them show their power, that's where I can help and give that literary gold, that poetic beauty and eye-popping ability to their autobiographies, and that's where it's all about.
So I see you two have met each other already. Duncan, Hayden, Duncan.
Oh, we had a great conversation.
And let me introduce you, Duncan, to our viewing audience, okay, or to our listening audience, and viewing audience. By the way, you can always check out the After Hours, which is going to go at least 10 minutes after we're done today, on our website, mcelderlaw.com. I'll put it out, obviously, if anybody knows me, on planet Earth, all over social media and everywhere else, okay? But this is Duncan Blount, founder of Nabu Scholar. Grew up in Cherryville, correct?
That's right.
Just down the road. That's very interesting. And went to, you'll help me say it, Berea College. Is that correct?
Berea College in Kentucky.
Berea College in Berea, Kentucky.
That's right.
Okay. And a very well-spoken young man, if you hadn't gotten that already, and graduated as an English major, cum laude.
Yep,
correct?
That's right.
Which means really smart in Latin, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love being an English major there. That's for sure.
Okay. Was that a liberal arts school? Was there a focus on liberal arts?
That's right. Liberal arts, and having that foundation of whether it's the sciences, whether it's the arts, or for me, writing. It's about creating that foundation at Berea College, and they gave me so many values and so many strengths. I think about them every day.
Well, you're the English teacher I would have liked to have had in high school. Okay, aside from the ones that used to just I loved English, but I had some tough English teachers, man. They were tough people. But anyway, so if someone wanted to get in touch with Nabu Scholar and explore writing their life, writing a book that they can give to their entire family, and we'll talk about other ways that we can use it. Put it on Amazon. Yeah. Everybody in the family can buy it. Yeah. And get it.
That's right.
Other ways we might connect up with those books. How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So they're working very hard on my website. It's nabuscholar.com, Nabu Scholar. But I also have my personal phone number out there right now, and I'm working very hard on getting North Carolina clients. I mentioned the Northern Iowa person, and I went to Chicago recently. And you know what? I want to be here in North Carolina with my countrymen, here in Cleveland County, where we are right now, all the way abroad in North Carolina. This is my state. This is where I was born and where I want to be. And this is where the stories are that I want to tap into. And so my number, 704-689-8725. And I offer free consultations. I just love to talk to people and meet with them.
Okay, so free consultation. And hey, we talk about all the time about bucket list. I was just thinking about how Duncan would do a great job in our bucket list seminar that we've been developing, because we talk about leaving a monetary legacy. We talk about leaving money and property to your kids or grandkids, don't we? To leave that type of legacy. But that's not the only type of legacy we have, I don't think. We have that entire life's worth of experience that could be worth all the money in the world to someone, right? And really give them a leg up on making good decisions. And I just hate the thought that every generation starts over. I've given a lot of thought to that. From a monetary aspect, right, you see great families that are built over time. You see, by handing down, monies and property, but sometimes just handing down monies and property can actually spoil the kids or be bad for them, can't it? We also need to hand down wisdom.
Yes.
And that experience, and that's what Duncan's talking about.
Yeah, and right here in my hand, I have this book, and I think a lot about that. Every time I look at a cover, I see that person's face, and I just imagine this book is the essence of that wisdom, isn't it? There it is. That's right. There's a yeah. Yeah. There's a quote that I love, and it's, "You can learn from your own mistakes, or you can learn from watching and learning the mistakes of others." And we don't do that unless we talk about it. Sometimes we only like to talk about the good, happy things, but when we talk about the full story, we can learn from it, and that's so powerful.
And that's where when we talk about ordinary people also, right? Just everybody, myself, sometimes you fail your way to the top. I mean, really, when you talk to really successful people, that's exactly what they do.
President Lincoln.
Is they fail their way to the top. Oh, right. Well, you're talking about Lincoln won maybe a couple of elections and lost the first maybe 5, 6 he ran. I think had 4 or 5 failed businesses, basically bankrupt, 4 or 5 times.
That's right.
And then went on to be one of the greatest presidents we remember in the life of the country, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, he got cut. Actually. I want to say it was from his 10th or 11th grade high school basketball team. Is what it was. Yeah. And he, that lit a fire in him that certainly carried on. He's a talented guy, but the things that really give you that passion in life are sometimes those failures. But certainly could save yourself some pain and have a lot more wisdom if you can go to, instead of, we're always searching for gurus in this society. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for them anywhere we can. We're reading self-help books, and you've got all these strangers that are telling you what to do, okay, and how to live life, okay. But what if you could have your family, an ancestor that tells you the wisdom of life, right? That they, through their experience, I think that's what we're talking about.
I'd like to share one of the secrets I've found working in this over the last 10 months, and here it is. The authentic autobiography, that autobiography that's humble, that's generous, that's truly full of wisdom. It has 2 things, and I want to share those 2 things with the audience here. The first element is opening up about the hard things, what you're talking about. It's becoming vulnerable and saying, here's the hardships that I went through. Here are the struggles that I was victorious after coming through. And whenever you meet obstacles, that's where we grow, isn't it? That's just like exercise, just like sports. It's those hard moments that teach us the most. And so opening up about that. These autobiographies, I tell my clients, it's not about pushing yourself up or any kind of pompous nonsense. It's about the real you. And the real you is beautiful because of those hard things. And the second element is whenever we present it, it's about how we present it. It's about the shape of the book. It's about the size. Right here, this is only about 8 inches tall, the book I'm holding in my hand, and whenever we can present things in a way that's authentic, and in the sense that it's not about showing off. It's about sharing the wisdom you found.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I'm sorry, Hayden, am I interrupting you? Hey, what would you like to impart? I'm going to get personal with you. Is that okay, Hayden? Do I have permission to get a little personal? Okay. What, you can do me next. What would you like to leave your children and grandchildren? What kind of wisdom in your book of life, if you wrote your life, what would you like to leave?
That's beautiful.
What about all the crazy adventures you've gone on? Wild adventures, not crazy, just wild adventures you've gone on. Well, no, I mean, living 2.5 years on a. Didn't you live 2.5 years on the sailboat? We talked about that, right? That would be a cool story.
It would be.
That would be a really cool story. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And maybe give some insight on those decisions from your point of view, based on what all you've learned. I agree. That's what I was talking about earlier. I think we have to learn to be somewhat fearless in life and have our own opinions. I just wish that I could give that wisdom to my children to not be afraid to believe the way they want to believe, the way that their family believes. Be proud to be who you are, and stand up for your beliefs. Cherish love, cherish life, and just really value the experience.
That's right.
And so, Duncan, if you were to write Hayden's story, how do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you do it and make it affordable for people?
Absolutely.
And it's very affordable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And one of my goals right now, and especially North Carolinians, is making this process very straightforward. I like to say I have the easiest process for writing your autobiography. Here's how I do it. I interview the client about 2 to 3 times, about 2 hours each. And over the course of those interviews, I record the questions and the conversation, and then I transcribe it, edit it, format it, and then there's proofing stages. And so you know, you just hit on a question that I love to ask. It's usually the third question I have, and then generally as the conversation goes on, it gets a little more complex and the questions are more specific. But my third question that I love to ask is, how did where you grow up shape who you are? And that is a powerful question. How did where you grow up shape who you are? And that's what you were just talking about, our family, where we come from. When we say, oh, where are you from? What's your last name? We learn a lot about someone by those two questions, don't we? And so my process is about getting to who someone is, and I am, in a sense, their guide. I am the person who's been trained in interviewing skills. I'm the person who's able to write that and put it into a format that is readable in 3 to 4 hours. This is the essence of a person's life, about 7 chapters on average. And so it's the stories from the moments that your life changed, the transformational moments. Those are the episodic times where I really capture.
And what you said is, I think, is extremely true. And I know we have a caller waiting, and I'll get to them in just 1 second. But the key to really writing the right story is to get really honest and to draw that out of people. The things they don't necessarily want to talk about can teach us the most. Like you could hear Hayden's got all these stories that she didn't tell us there, right? That we want to know about.
Yeah.
But you could get her. We gotta wait and read your book. Hayden.
Yeah,
we got.
do.
Hey, Hayden, we've got a caller on line 1.
Yep. Okay, caller, go ahead.
Hey, LD, how are you doing? How can I help you, sir? Yes. You could have had fear. You had a car wreck in 1980, and thank the Lord you're still alive. Now, how did that affect your life? That life change? I'm sure that was a life-changing experience, right, LD?
Wow.
2
so you're
months.
unconscious. Wow.
Did that give you a value or a zest for life, or make you appreciate life in a different way than before the accident?
Wow.
Wow. Mine's that big, but I was just born that way.
Wow. Well, LD, what was your first thought when you woke up? That's my question. What were you thinking when your eyes first opened? Do you remember? Wow, that's terrifying. Wow.
And I bet you have a really good story to tell just with your entire life, LD. And that's what Duncan's talking about, is getting that story in book form so you can hand it down to your family. Thank the Lord for everything. And for you, LD. I'll tell you an interesting story. My grandfather McIntyre was in, Pawpaw Mac was in the hospital in his 60s, probably mid 60s, 65, 66. And he was in a coma, okay, for about 6 months. And they had finally, I think, coded him do not resuscitate, finally. And he had, I think, had to be revived 3 times. And then he woke up, LD. And he went around the counties and churches and preaching on his near-death experience, and remembered seeing the light, and would talk about it, and just, I think, lived to be almost 99 years old from that point on. And so I think sometimes those experiences can just make life much sweeter and make you cherish it and value it even more. So that great experiences to write down and to leave the kids and grandkids. So. And I'm sorry, say that one more time, LD. Life is what you make of it. Is that right?
Amen.
Sit at
Amen.
home and cry or get up and do something. I agree. I mean,
Words to
those are
live by.
great. Those are great quotes and words to live by. So, hey, absolutely. Hey, LD, thank you so much for your call, and you have a great rainy weekend. You know, watch the ball games and hang out, and listen to WHS and Big O Country, and have a good weekend. Okay? What? Leave the alcohol alone. Words of wisdom. Thank you very much, LD. I appreciate that.
You know, one point you mentioned, Greg, is with your Papa Mac, it gives us goosebumps, doesn't it? That idea of seeing the light and recognizing that God is real and recognizing that this is a teaching moment. What I do is I have my pro bono projects, and that's in hospice. I give these services for free to hospice patients, and it's not the full package, it's more of a shortened version, but I interview a patient and I help them write their story for their loved ones. And in hospice, it's special. It's very special because you have less than 6 months to live. And so you start thinking very hard and very intentionally about your life and your loved ones. And I don't think I go through one without starting to cry a little bit, because it is so powerful and we learn so much. And so that's where I see this process being so powerful, is near the end, is near with these hospice patients. And but I tell you what, there's something really powerful in the other people out there too. And man, there's just so much to learn. Isn't there?
Everybody has a story to tell. Duncan can help you tell it. Hey, if you want to get in touch with Nabu Scholar and Duncan, okay, he's got a partner he works with as well, growing the company. Love to help you write your life. The number is 704-689-8725 for Duncan. And you know what, Hayden? Let's talk about some upcoming shows. I think we're booked out 2 months or more with shows, and that's amazing. When are you going to give me a chance to actually talk about what I do, which is McIntyre Elder Law, the Elder Law Guide, helping seniors protect their assets and legacies? I don't get a chance to talk about that anymore. May the 6th? Okay, May the 6th then. We'll do that May the 6th. Well, pencil me in, please, okay? And tell me a little bit about our upcoming shows. They do healthcare directives, healthcare power of attorney, and living wills. Healthcare power of attorney and living wills. That's correct. So, yeah. Love Ms. Hauser, love the Lincoln County Extension Program, and just have had a good, really good relationship with them this year. I really enjoyed speaking to their groups and working with them. Amazing what they're doing over there, and can't wait to have them on. So, hey, do you have anything in closing? I mean, I know it's so sad. We're all feeling sorry for you. You're down at the beach. You're here working. Ride your bike back. You ain't made out of sugar. You won't melt. That's what I tell my kids. That's what I tell my kids. Is your family down there with you? Well, good deal. Good deal.
Love it.
I know it is. I know it is. Hayden, it's always good to hear from you. Thank you very much for calling in and doing the show. I know you wouldn't miss it for the world, so I wouldn't either. So. Well, good, good. Hey, Hayden, thank you for calling in, and thank you, Duncan, with Nabu Scholar for being here today
Thank you for having me.
and talking about your passion and what you're doing for seniors, okay?
Absolutely. Everyone out there, tell your story. Get it out there.
Yeah, tell your story. That's right. Write your life. Hey, this has been Greg McIntyre, the Elder Law guy with McIntyre Elder Law, helping seniors protect their assets and legacies. And this has been the Elder Law Report. So I'm signing off. Hey, Milton,
Yes, sir.
can you Perry Mason me out of here?
I will do it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right. That's good.
All
Thanks,
right,
man.
that's the
Yeah,
Elder
appreciate
Law
it. Yeah.
Report for today. Thank you for tuning in. Join us again next Friday with Greg and Hayden, our guests, and we'll see you then. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Milton. I appreciate that.
Do you want to speak to Hayden before we end?
Yeah. Put it on.
Hey, you still there? All right, Greg wants to speak to you before we hang up.
What, I need to put these on? Oh, I need to put on these. Hey. Thank you very much. And are you going to be gone next Friday too? Is that right? Yeah, it's either next Friday or Friday after. Okay.
Morning. Well, I'm at work.
Absolutely. Hey, that was very good. Thank you so much. And hey, do you have a speaker on that? Can you get a speaker?
You can hear her. You can't talk back and forth.
Okay. All right. I was just going to do the after party a little bit. But is there anything that you would like for me to tell Duncan on your behalf? What the finished book looks like. Is it hardcover or softcover? Does it have photos? Things like that. That's what Hayden wants to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can go ahead and tell her.
Yeah, what's going on? Here, he's going to tell us, Hayden.
Sure. Basic package is a paperback with full high quality color inside and out.
Okay, paperback with full high quality color inside and out. So you could certainly put pictures in there if you need it, okay? And there are pictures in there. Oh man, look, that's one of those sepia tone, kind of not black and white, but it's like brown and white. You know what I mean?
That's her when she was a little girl.
Right. Those are really, really cool. And your pictures. I like to look back at my ancestors' pictures and see kind of how I see myself in those people. Do you know what I mean? Different features of myself.
This is my brochure.
I want to do this to somebody. I live in Krause now.
So yeah, Hayden, thank you so much, Roger, for calling me. You have a great rest of the weekend. Okay. And I got Asheville was great yesterday, by the way. Asheville was great yesterday. Lots of opportunities. Belmont, Charlotte has lots of opportunities. I can't wait to grow those. Okay.
Pictures are documenting the structure.
Absolutely, it'd be fun.
All
Right.
to a genealogy.
I will.
All
right, thanks. Talk to you soon.
We're back. We're kind of stuck.
I'd love to go and talk if you'd like me to too.
Yeah, one of the things, we're back to my great-grandfather and his father, which would be my great-great-grandfather. We're kind of stumped right now. We can't find anything on it. Nathan Baker. We know he never made it to Lincoln County. His son, John H. Baker, is the first Baker on that line that came to Lincoln County. But we can't find anything on Nathan Baker other than his name. His name was on John H. Baker's marriage certificate as his father. It was listed as Nathan Baker, but we can't find Nathan Baker. But the girl who's doing the work thinks she's on to something because she keeps coming across a Matthew Jonathan Baker. If you drop the John, you get Nathan. Nathan may have been a nickname.
Yeah, that's very true.
So she's trying to see if Matthew Jonathan Baker was my great-great.
That's part of the the trail that you have to follow, right? It's about, well, maybe he wrote a letter, and then, oh, I found out that he's actually over from Wayne County. Maybe I should go and look at the local courthouse documents. It's just a huge...
I think something like this would be interesting to the group. We're always looking for speakers.
Yeah, I'd love to speak.
I know you're selling a product, but also I think it would be, that may be a stumbling block.
Yeah.
For them, but I'll have Ramona give you a call if
I'd
she
be
thinks it's something.
more than happy to speak on whatever they want me to speak about. I spoke to a Rotary Club recently, and so I have an actual 9-minute speech already prepared. So.
Okay, yeah, very good. Yeah, our meetings are about 2 hours, so that's good. And we meet the second Tuesday of every month at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because we have a lot
Just
of
give me a call, and I'd love to schedule something.
Okay.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Alan.
I'm going to burn you a copy of today's show.
Yes, sir. Could you hand me a Sharpie and I won't even have to get up, man. I'll just roll it up. Thank you.
That was, yeah, you go ahead and write on it, but it's,
I'm gonna go ahead and
but it's blank right now.
Oh, this is
yeah,
blank? Oh,
I'm working on, I can put it in there though.
Okay. So what do you think? You feel good about that?
The show?
The
Oh,
show?
absolutely. Yeah, the show was great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we actually stuck somewhat to the format today that we've laid out,
Yes.
which is good.
Sorry, I started a little bit before the introduction. I didn't mean to say too much there before that.
There is no wrong way to do it.
Okay.
The show happens the way it was meant to happen.
Oh,
Okay?
nice! I love it.
You know what I'm saying? So you know, it's 30 minutes where we talk about something senior related, and there's a million different things to talk about. I mean, I think that you have a great story, and what you're doing is really, really cool. And when you and I talk about how much it can grow, I mean, this could be a national thing for you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And grow and scale.
A part of me wanted to talk about my vision and my excitement for the vision, because I'm almost excited as much for the business part of it as I am just in my passion for writing. And my vision in a year from now is to have between 4 and 8 employees that I call personal historians that travel the country doing what I'm doing, and then I kind of facilitate, lead, manage finances, that type of thing. So I have a vision, and it's exciting to see that I'm getting more and more customers and making it happen.
Now, is this all you do, or are you a teacher? I mean, I know you said...
I read something recently that said 80% of entrepreneurs have a full-time job as they start their first year. But I'm one of the 20%. I'm living in a Moss Lake in my mom's basement and making this work as I go along, and really cutting all costs so I can just drop anything at any time and go make this happen. So it's just this company for now.
Yeah. Well, I'll give Ramona your information and explain to her what we talked about today and why I think it would be something our group would be interested in. The only problem, like I said, the only problem she might have with it, and she has to clear it with her boss. Her boss is really a husband and wife there in Krause that are funding and spearheading this Krause Photo and History Project. We're on Facebook if you want to look us up. Krause Photo and History Project.
That would be a perfect.
And I think
things like that for you to partner with. I mean, there's probably things like that in multiple in each community or
and you know, in our church years ago, we don't do it anymore. But when someone would turn 80 in our church, we asked them or their family members to write a biography.
Nice. See, that's what communities need to be about, and the church is really the perfect
Yeah.
microcosm of community. And when you can have accountability and a desire for stories, then people are empowered to tell their stories, aren't they?
Yeah. I helped my mother write hers, and she's since passed away. And you know, it's a little short, 2 or 3 page paragraphs here and there. But it's something that she told me, and I wrote it down. Basically in her words. Some of it I elaborated on. I'm not much of a writer.
It's definitely important to be able to contribute to that and fill in the blanks, because there are blanks whenever they
See, one of the only things that I have, aside from just talking about it, from my grandfather McIntyre, my grandfather Horn on my mom's side, is especially that. You remember that World War II one that we did?
Mm-hmm.
And talk. I mean, I cherish that so much. I still have the original cassette tape of it. It's the only real thing that the whole family has of my grandfather. To go back and see the story. You know?
I could just kick myself for all these years. I've had all this electronic media here. I could have recorded any number of conversations I had with my uncle, my mother, other cousins, and I didn't. And now that information, I remember some of it, and I hope I remember it correctly, but, you know, without their voice, had their voice to share this information. My cousin now, he lived into his 90s, Jason Hart, who is the Lincoln County Historical Association director. He and another gentleman, they recorded Carl, my cousin. They recorded Carl telling about his childhood and was working on the Lincoln County courthouse when they were building the courthouse, and seeing he's at his age, he remembers Civil War veterans. He remembers, you know, things like that, and they recorded him and they wrote it down in a magazine. It made it into a magazine. So we had that in our history group one day. I read the
and that is because there's a time in our lives when we start asking the questions that really matter. Where do I come from? Who am I? And when we start looking at family, we start answering
people have the answers.
It's sad. It's sad.
That's why I'm so excited. You know, it's not everybody's passion. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But
and genealogy. I mean, just 2 days ago, I stopped in Iowa at my grandparents' house to say hello, and I got to see for the first time the picture of the first Roswell. So I'm Roswell the 6th. My first name's Roswell. I go by the middle name Duncan. But I got to see the picture of the first Roswell, whose name was Nathan Roswell. And so it was so inspiring for me to see that picture, and then to see his son with his head sticking out of their old, like, I don't know, the Model T, some of the first cars, and he was going out this, like, making a crazy face, and I was like, this guy, like, that's me. It's like 1915, like, what?
Yeah.
And so it was
And it looked like you.
The nose
That's what I was
eyes,
telling Hayden, is I love looking back at pictures of myself, because I see myself in my ancestors.
That's right. You're like, oh, that's my cousin. I see.
Or some of them, I'm like, man, that was just like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, with the history project and Ramona she's working for the Hefner family, and Krause is how it got started. And then the history project kind of grew out of that. That everybody in Krause was included. Anybody that wanted to come to the meetings, like I say, at first we just looked at old photos. Who is this? Who is this? You know, you'd see somebody 50 years ago, or group pictures of school children. You try to figure out who they were, and then it just sort of evolved now to where it's more of a genealogy thing.
Great organization.
Ramona, she's been working on mine, and like I say, we're at a summit right now with Baker. We're trying to figure out Nathan Baker, if he was really Nathan Jonathan Baker. She can't quite say for sure. But she's told me tons of information about John H. Baker, who was my great-grandfather. I knew nothing about. And to tell you how difficult it is, Ramona's been doing this a while, and she's sort of a self-taught genealogist, but she's telling me yesterday she's thinking about taking a course through Boston College to get her accreditation. But anyway, she loves doing it. She's really good at it. But she did get, I don't have the patience for it, I know it. But
No,
she
it's
did
a
get,
methodical job.
yeah, you can't get it done in a day. And she called me one day or texted me and was apologizing vehemently because she had told me my great-grandfather was Alan Baker, who's buried here in Sheridan. And I went out to see the grave at Pine Lutheran Church, took pictures of him and everything. She didn't have much information about Alan Baker and then his father before him. She called me one day. She said, "You're not kin to Alan Baker. He's not your great. You might be kin to him. He might be a great uncle. We don't know, but he's not your great grandfather." She said, she told me how she got off on the wrong tangent, but she said, I think what you're going to find out on John H. Baker is going to be a lot more interesting. And it was.
The information that we learned during just the investigative process is so valuable too. In Lincoln County, one of my hospice patients right now, my most recent one, he said that the last person that he could have asked for the name of his road, Frey Road, if you've driven past Frey Road, no one knows who the Freys were, where they came from, or no one knows about the Freys, because the last person that would have known passed away 2 years ago. No one ever asked that one person. And so it was so sad for me to hear that's why we need to start asking questions and just have these conversations as information, you know? That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I wish I had all that information. I really don't have much for you. I know I'm McIntyre, that for the most part, I think Scotch-Irish maybe.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll
And,
see. And there again, I always thought.
But I need to. I know my family did a genealogy book at one point in time, but I don't have a copy of it. I need to get a copy of it, and I'm gonna have to redo all this stuff again.
And
that, and I want a genetic test. You see those genetic tests?
Yeah,
They're like,
23andMe.
And that's what Ramona said. She said, somebody in your family, just one person, just needs to do a DNA test so we can link it. You know, if we can find others,
Sure.
we can link your DNA. But talking about, we always thought Baker was German. We thought we were somewhere from Germany. Well, that's not necessarily the case. It's more likely English is where the Baker side came from. Yeah. And then on my mother's side, the Harvey side, we know a little bit more about the Harveys, but Ramona's basically working on the Baker right now. But the Harvey is, Mama knew a lot more about, of course, about the Harvey.
I think it gives you it just gives you a sense of satisfaction and confidence if you know where you're from, where you came from. And we as Americans have lost that.
And some people,
We've lost that.
some people we found, we have beat our head against the wall trying to get other people involved. Just bring us photos. Just come to a meeting, you'll love it. But some people just don't care. They just don't care. They're in the here and now, and that's
It's
it.
almost like a privileged mindset that we've been blessed to know that there's value in family history. Some people, they grow up, they never had a grandma to talk to and have questions asked to, and it's almost like it's sad that there's a difference there. I mean, there's a true privilege difference.
The more we get to go into it, I knew for years that a name that runs through our family, Augustus, got started in the Civil War. So I knew I had an ancestry there in the Civil War. Then later on, I found out that my great-great-grandfather died in the Civil War and is buried in Virginia somewhere. And then with this John H. Baker, he survived the Civil War. He was actually in 2 wars. He was a sergeant in the Civil War. He was an engineer. He was over a gold mine in this area. He was an engineer through the Dickey Gold Mining Company.
I didn't even know there was that much gold mining.
It was a gold mine. And he lived what's now St. Mark's Church Road. He lived in the Dickey house, and so forth and so on. He later married. He had 1 child. There you go again. If he had that 1 child, which was my grandfather, who knows?
Dozens of people, but it just matters so much, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Duncan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You doing the show today?
Absolutely. This was a real pleasure and a real opportunity for me too.
So,
Sure.
No, thank you so much.
I'll give this information to Ramona. Hopefully, she can get it cleared to give you a call.
Absolutely. And mention how, I have a lot of value in this with my hospice experience all the way to helping my own grandparents. So there's the business side of it and there's my passion side too.
Yes. I think if she talked to you, she would see where you're coming from, and maybe she can give you a call, or if you're in Kraus sometime, her office is there in Kraus. I have a little antique store beside the post office. Her office is almost right across the road.
I know where the post office is.
Yeah.
Come see you guys. Thank you so much.
I have the podcast up, which is the high quality audio here, okay, through the mics, before I leave here. Probably the next.
Excellent. And then I'll share that on my social media too.
Okay, and then I'll have all, because I think I'll go ahead and tweet it out. I'll go ahead and tweet it out on Facebook too. And I'll have this video up in the hour also. And there's did you video the one today?
No, the camera's set for that studio.
Oh, is it? Set for the one in there?
We
Okay,
didn't
that's
have
good. Then
the
that'll be the
camera
video.
on here.
That'll be the video. Okay.
Nice. Well, maybe we can have breakfast sometime. We can talk more about